Hello viewers. Well, I thought it was time for a little blog. It's been a few weeks. I was hoping to make the blog a weekly thing. We will eventually. One of the quick things on the blog, I think, is we was going to ask for questions on the website, and we're changing the login, and I'm going to be talking to you all again soon, asking you to re-register or click the Facebook to log in button, and then we can start working a lot more on forum activity. So that will come. There's just some slight delays on that. Now, it's been quite busy lately. I've been kicking out lots of videos. Obviously, we've seen the Grid Autosport announcement, which came as a surprise, and we were expecting to see Dirt 4, I think, by now, or whatever they want to call the new rally game. It seems to be unclear whether it's going to be a Dirt 4 or Colin McRae something or some other new rally, so we'll wait and see what happens with that. Perhaps they're holding it back for E3, who knows? But we've had Dirt Autosport. It's been made on the current console systems of PS3, Xbox 360 and PC. And often people complain they don't always understand why that's the case, or sometimes there's restrictions. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs, but there's like Twitch streaming and there's all these other little features that I need to put in which are difficult to put into the game late in development. So it would mean Grid Autosport will come out next year, and they need to fill a slot for this year, and it's nearly finished, so it's a way of putting it out the door, and then next year, who knows what they do in the future. That's happening with a lot of developers right now. It's an adjustment period. And I think the adjustment period is quite pronounced because in the past, years ago, you would know a console is coming out, perhaps with development kits, over a year before launch, and it would come out in Japan, the year before, and then we'd wait 9 months to a year after it to come out in Japan. So by the time it came out in the UK, Europe, or the US, it'd already been out for several months abroad, where they would be honing development of the hardware and refining the software. So, and even then, there's a generational leap every year, but it'd give that time. So I think E3 is going to be very important this year in terms of, what kind of games we're going to be seeing for each system, and really filling out the sort of lifespan of what we're going to be looking forward to in terms of the Xbox One and PS4. So far, obviously, software has been very poor in terms of the range that's available. Nothing's really shone to me and said, this is amazing, this is truly next gen. It's all been a little bit rushed. I think it would have been nice to have seen, perhaps in Drive Club, I think we'll get to, but it would be nice to have seen a sample of Drive Club at launch. And that takes me on to the next issue now, which I wanted to talk about in this video, is Drive Club, obviously, today. We've seen it's coming out now in October. It's had a massively extended development period. And it's been announced today that it's going to be 1080p, 30 frames per second. And that's caused quite a debate amongst people about what they expect. Now, for me, a launch title should be all about showing the maximum your console could do with what they've got at that time. So if you look over the years, there's been some amazing launch titles for consoles. It really is important that it has an impact. But I think these days, you need a game from every genre. Drive Club was key to the PS4, and it was meant to demonstrate just the power of PS4. And developers are saying to me all the time, the PS4's, it's definitely got a little bit more going for it at the moment in terms of performance, at least out the box. The Xbox may catch up, who knows. But it's something which needed to shine. And 30 frames per second, anyone who says an arcade game is 30, no, arcade games were 60. I see people online saying, but PGR3 run at 30 frames. Yes, a game on a machine that was released in 2005 ran at 30 frames with great graphics. That was good enough then. It's not now. If you went back to 94 or 92, a game with flat shaded polygons that ran at 30 frames per second was good enough. Yes, it blew our minds because that's what there was back then. That's what we expected. And in 2005, that's what we expected from the Xbox. But we now expect a generational leap, to go from 30 to 60 frames. That's all we're asking for. How hard can it be? And that's a really interesting question. How hard can it be to extract power on these new consoles? Now, there are two major racing games that are coming out on console that are going to be 30 frames per second, and that is Drive Club and The Crew. Crew looks like it's going to be 30 frames for sure on console, and I think the PC may be locked to 30 as well. We'll wait and see on that. There's no confirmation. But for me, when you're talking open world, okay, with detail, I'm all right with that. I can see where the crew's coming from. I can see it's open world. You've got this massive amount of detail. Drive anywhere. I'm accepting of the fact that a racetrack, like in Project Cars, you're on a tunnel, basically. You're driving down a tunnel that's all decked out for you. It looks really nice. Anything beyond that triple row of trees, doesn't matter. You can't see it. In the Crew, you can go there. You can go behind those trees. You can go behind those bushes. You can see what there is. On Drive Club, you can't. In Drive Club, it's an open road, as far as I'm aware, much like Forza Horizon. So it means you can do much richer environments, but you should be able to refine it enough to improve that frame rate. And as a technical demonstration, I see Drive Club as a technical demonstration. That's why I'm slightly disappointed with the 30 frames. I would like to have seen it really show what the PS4 can do. It's almost like internally they've said, no, we're going to do 30 frames. Gran Turismo is going to come out. That's going to be the 60 frames crown, and that's it. And there will be a GT7. Who knows? GT7 may even be shown at E3 this year as far as the trailer's concerned. Then that will be due out probably sometime next year, which will get delayed until the year after. We'll wait and see. I know they said that we wouldn't be waiting as long for a Gran Turismo, but I find it hard to believe that there's going to be one this year. I think we're going to be waiting at least a year, if not two, for the next Gran Turismo game. So it's an interesting debate. I do find it strange that people compare games from years ago to now and say, well, it's acceptable for PGR 3 or 4 or whatever. No, that's fine. It was back then. It was for then, not for now. Now we expect a smoother frame rate, unless they're doing something, as in like the Crew's doing, which is this massively expanded map and game world. Because they're doing things that simply weren't possible on older hardware. That's when it really makes a difference. So the Drive Club, the jury's still out. The gameplay that I played last year wasn't very deep. There wasn't much to it. Even for an arcade game. I mean, people say arcade, that's meant to be it's easy to play. But generally speaking, even if you play Ridge Racer and Daytona or whatever, they all require a certain amount of skill to perfect. So I think you do need a bit of depth. And it just seems so easy that, within 2 laps, I already had the hang of it. I was already flying, and there just wasn't enough depth for me. So I hope there's a bit more depth. I saw someone asking, does it handle like PGR? No. And actually PGR 3 had lots of depth to it. If you were driving a Ferrari F50 or whatever, some of the faster cars, they had a lot of wheel spin. You had to control that wheel spin. It was a good feeling, good vibration through the controller. Quite tricky, some of those cars. PGR had bags more depth than a lot of people gave it credit for. And I think looking back now, we realise just how much that game had going for it in a number of different capacities. So PGR series was a little bit underrated by some people. It might not have been a full-on sim, but it wasn't an arcade game in a classical sense of the word either. So interesting. We'll see how Drive Club is received later in the year. No doubt we'll have some footage from E3 for you, and we'll also have some footage from Gamescom as well. Maybe a developer interview, who knows. We'll do our best and see what we can get in terms of coverage, making sure you guys see everything before launch. Now, the other thing is the Crew. So obviously went to Paris, played the Crew earlier this month. Great fun, looking good at the moment. I'm frowning here, aren't I? I've got this frown simply because of the light. It's quite bright here. Been playing the Crew, and the Crew's good fun. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. It's got the 3 handling models, the easy one. Most journalists are playing with the easy handling model. I think I was the only person playing with the hardcore model, the event I went to. The hardcore model is better. There's certainly a lot more manoeuvrability in the car. It's more fun. I think the camera could have been a bit more dynamic. It's a bit sort of rigid on the car, but then it's very difficult to tell with such a short amount of time that in terms of how dynamic the suspension and the camera is something that you need to test thoroughly. And I'm sure there'll be room for improvement for the future, but I think any step forward is a good step forward. So it won't be perfect, but it will be very playable, and I think there's still going to be great fun to be had exploring huge map and the many adventures they're going to have spread across it. And again, more previews on that when we get the opportunity. Now, obviously this week, last week, there was the recent update to iRacing. I've been testing a little bit of iRacing. Some viewers may remember I was testing the Star Mazda. I've been playing it again now with the new tyre model, and I really like it. It was really intuitive for me, really comfortable. I was getting on okay with it anyway, and I think it just shows, add a bit more depth there, and it's just really, really improved for me. And of course, recently we've had this whole batch of Project Cars videos. That's been mainly down to got it working on the system, made some videos, and when something's working, I just like to record it, so we've got some good content there, and I'll be knocking up a few more of those videos. If there's tracks and cars that you guys would like to see at some point, when I've got time, I can record some more on it. Right now, I'm testing out a bit of iRacing again. Obviously, Neil didn't do any more iRacing, so that's going to be down to me to do the iRacing now, and that's a big chunk of time. That really does mean that it will take a hit on the channel, and so there'll be a period either just of iRacing or a period of fewer videos while I put my gameplay time just into getting my laps up to speed, so I'm not going to be losing every single race by a mile. I mean, that's the main thing. The big problem with covering iRacing is that it takes so damn long to learn and to improve those lap times. It's not something I can jump on for 5 minutes and whack a video together. It really does take many hours, and so hopefully once I get into the Skippy, I can get on with that, work my way to the Star Mazda, and just sit there and enjoy myself. So that's something I'm going to be working on. A bit of R-Factor 2, trying to get my R-Factor 2 working. The only thing delaying the R-Factor coverage really is just I'm struggling to get the field of view as I would like it. It's all a bit stretched in the side monitors, and there's bits and pieces I'm tinkering with to get it right. So I played it single screen in January, worked fine, but since I've moved to triple screen, I've had a few issues with frame rate. I've sorted those issues out now. Now it's a case of really refining the field of view so it looks right, and we're not quite there yet, so a bit of work going into that as well. So it's been a busy couple of weeks. There'll be some iRacing coming up, there'll be some MXGP, and then we're looking forward to the future releases after that. Lots to look forward to in the year. I mean, people are asking me about F1. I'm sure F1 will be announced sometime around the British Grand Prix. That's usually when it's announced, sometime around then, depending on when FOM allow and say everything's clear to be shown. It'll be the same with MotoGP, no doubt, this year. I've been missing MotoGP this year, unfortunately, because it's not live on TV, and I have to admit, for me, watching it on ITV2, I believe it's supposed to be on, it's just not the same for me. I'm either going to watch it live or I'm not. It's a shame, BT Sports have come in and taken that one. They've also got the IndyCar at the moment as well, so missing out on that again this year. But one of those things, really. I am enjoying a bit of spare time, and of course Formula One as well, and we've got the Spanish Grand Prix coming up. It'd be interesting to see if anyone's made any inroads on Mercedes. I don't think we're going to see huge steps. There's going to be a lot of new bits on the car from this race onwards, but over the course of the next 4 races, you really see how the season comes together. But unlike last year, the teams aren't going to stop developing halfway through the season. You're going to see them developing right through the season, right through next year as well. So there's, Mercedes may have, maybe at the top, but once you reach a certain point, like anything, it slows the development once you reach a certain point, and then the others will gradually close that gap, or at least that's the plan. It will work out like that, I'm sure. I just hope that it's not just Red Bull. I hope there's other teams. I hope we see more from Ferrari, from McLaren, and Williams maintain their position as well, working their way up. And great work from Force India on the world of Formula One. So in the next few weeks, I'm hoping to get the website probably working with a login. Then we can do proper Q&As, and I can answer your questions, anything to do with the world of gaming. And it's certainly been busy at the moment, and we look forward to covering more of the racing titles in the future. And if there's anything we don't cover on the channel, do let me know what you'd like to see, because we're always open to covering those other racing games, and whatever content that we're not running, do let me know, because it's always nice to hear from you when it comes to those things. So that's it from me for now. I'm going to hopefully play Grid Autosport soon. I'm hoping to arrange a visit to play it and run some coverage on it, and when the permission comes that we can run that, then we will. So you will see Grid Autosport. We're going to continue with iRacing, MXGP, and some project cars and stuff like that, and other bits and pieces as well. But that's it from me for now. As ever, more soon.